What's up, y'all? It's TTC, aka the ThunderConductor, and we back for another YouTube video and Twitch stream. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell. If you're on Twitch, make sure you follow and ring the bell. We do this once a week on YouTube and every other week on Twitch. I got a question for y'all. What is your favorite OG cEDH commander? Some people are gonna say, come on, go to Bandit Warlord, 11 mana, mono red, what else would we really want? Some people are gonna say OG Narset, come on, 6 mana is a little steep. But the minute you start attacking, at that point, the game's over. Whether it's taking extra turns or extra combats, it's absolutely fantastic to see that deck just do its thing. But some people are going to say Zur Enchanter. Come on, Zur the Enchanter's awesome. Who needs to mulligan for a Aristic Study when you can just put it onto the board? Or mulligan for a Necro when you can just put it onto the board? And it's really fun to see that this commander is still doing things even post-ban, it having such a powerful color identity of Esper. But TTC wants to talk about something different. TTC wants to talk about Scion of the Ur Dragon. Now, we've seen this one before on my channel, and I wanted to do something really awesome with you all today. And just because so many people have been so excited about this brew, I decided to bring it back and talk about the recent updates that I've seen for this deck. If you're not familiar though, Scion the Ur Dragon is a Wulberg to cast commander that is a dragon avatar legendary creature. It has flying, pay 2, and search your library for a dragon permanent card and put it into your graveyard. If you do, Scion of the Ur Dragon becomes a copy of that card until the end of turn, then shuffle. And it is a 4/4. So if you haven't seen the last video, yes, this is a 4/4 for 5 mana, and you're saying, TTC, like, what's going on? Like, there's so many powerful Wulberg options, from Kenrith to Najeela to Sisay, even post Dockside. These are all viable options. And what TTC says is, first of all, I love a challenge. And in addition, I think that we forget that the power behind Scion has not always just been that you do a mass dragon tribal. It's the fact that Entomb the Graveyard allows you to do powerful synergies and strategies like Wargorger Dragon, which I know people think in our year of Lord, we're actually about to enter 2025 if we're not already here. I'm gonna be honest, that strategy is still viable and it's still powerful. And you can you do cool things like putting that infinite mana from Wargorger Dragon into powerful juggernauts like Realm, Scorcher, Hellkite, or Niv Mizzet Draco Genius. Or honestly, my favorite dragon, honestly, is Ancient Silver Dragon. This is honestly, I like to call it the Mulligan Fixer. If you're not familiar, Ancient Silver Dragon is 6 colorless and 2 blue. Elder Dragon, come on y'all. It is an 8/8, and you're saying, T, what the heck? Who's about to pay 8 mana for this dragon? Remember, we only paying 7 technically across 2 turns. We pop this out if we're able to use something like Channel the Suns or our very, very large ramp package. We can say, hey, I can get Scion out on turn 1, turn 2, swing, pay 2, and have all the rest of my mana open to be able to just knock in saying flying. And whenever this dragon deals combat damage, I get to roll a d20, draw cards equal to the result, and I have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Now, on one side, it's a high ceiling of draw 20 cards, low size, draw 1 card. But the beautiful thing is though, because we are in 5 colors and we have the ability to run such a beautiful locked in package, it's just a thing where it's just simply, okay, like, even in that worst universe, I've had some times where in game I've drawn 1 card, but that 1 card was the 1 card I need to help progress me further in the game or just win me the game. I've also had some games where I drew 17 cards and completely just won out of nowhere, and everybody was like, what the fuck, we should have got rid of the Scion. And that variance is both powerful yet viable, even though it has the inconsistency because we run such a strong 99 to support this variable strategy. But before we get into all the beautiful things with this deck, I got just one thing to say to y'all. If you're looking for more ways to support the show, we have a plethora. Starting off with our ThunderConductor Community, it is a free to join Discord community. Please feel free to join. We talk spoilers, deck techs, how can we upgrade our decks and just brew these amazing creative ideas while keeping them viable within the cEDH meta. And we also jam games and have a great time. However, if you want some extra perks like playing on our live streams, shoutouts to our YouTube videos and streams, as well as free proxies and discount codes at the higher tiers, please check out the TC Thunder Legion Patreon. These amazing people are honestly the reason why I'm able to do what I'm able to do just every week, to just come to y'all and give y'all these deck techs and gameplays. And I want to give a huge shout out to our mono red patrons, Wavy Ashira, Bissy Baxton, the Preator, B-Rad, and Sir Trekkie. These guys rock and they keep the lights on the way that you could not imagine. And last but not least, but you say, AT, I don't want the Patreons, the proxies, or the perks. I just want to say one time for the fun time that I love what you do and I want to support you. Don't worry, I got you too. Check out the link in the bio. You can buy me a coffee. It keeps me up and keeps the lights on. But with that being said, let's get into this amazing deck tech. But before we get into that, I have one thing to say. If you're not watching live with us on Twitch, I recommend that you increase the playback speed to 1.5x for the best viewing experience. But let's get into this deck tech. Come on, y'all. From the top. We know what Scion is, but let's get to the root of it. What's the deck archetype? Okay, so as we said last time, the deck archetype, we are a mid-range deck with turbo potential. That mid-range game plan coming from our mulligans, where we want a mulligan for a turn 1 Archivist, Esper, Rhystic, Mystic. So we want to draw for mana because our command zone is just a tutor. And we'll get to it, we only have 4 legal targets in the command zone. The powerful one being either our win con with Worldgorger Dragon or our draw engine to be Ancient Silver Dragon. So we want a mulligan deep, and a lot of our fast mana is helped to allow these strategies to be super explosive, okay? However, when it comes to that turbo to potential, it comes from explosive things like running the beautiful card Entomb and all of our Reanimator enchantments. Animate Dead, Dance of the Dead, and Necromancy. All of these allow us to be super turbo, as well as Stasis Oracle, of course, plus Demonic Consultation, Tainted Pact. If we can have enough mana to just be explosive and have either the land base and a creature in the graveyard, or we'll get to it, maybe our Surveil lands, we can either pull off a Worldgorger Dragon combo or the Thassa's Oracle combo as soon as turn 2. And I don't know about y'all, I like to win on turn 2. But most games, it will be, all right, we're here to draw cards as soon as turn 1. Let's establish our mana base, keep it moving forward, piece by piece, okay? So as I said, those draw engines we are looking for between turn 1 and turn 2 is our Mystic Remorse, our Rhystic Studies, our Esper Sentinel, Archivist, Fairy Mastermind. Notably, Fairy Mastermind, I think is a slept on card, because I'm gonna be honest, like, if you can get this down on turn 1, you honestly a lot of times can forget how many cards it draws you over time. And in our recent gameplay, we actually had one of our guests and patrons members, B-Rad, kill our Fairy Mastermind that we flashed in on the instep, because he remembers and knows the drawing potential of this one. Even though there's a lot of 2-mana draw creature like bodies on these creatures, what I find is what I love about Fairy Mastermind is not only does it draw cards off our the meta of everyone just drawing cards, but it's the only one that can activate itself. And even though it's drawing our opponent's cards, whether we're behind a silence effect or we just really need to just get a little bit deeper to protect ourselves or stop opponent's wins, I just love Fairy Mastermind, okay? But that's just the strategy, the game plan that we're mulligan forwards. And as we navigate the game, we're looking to win between turn 3 and 5, depending on how many cards we draw, how much mana we're able to establish down. And that can be anything from instant speed on top of our opponents or drop a silent effect and win over a turn. You know, traditional modern cEDH, okay? When it comes to the strengths and weaknesses of this strategy, notably our main win cons is we're trying to win with infinite mana. Okay, like we're trying to win with infinite mana. So what ends up happening is we make an infinite mana with Worldgorger Dragon, or notably we are on Valley Floodcaller now. We make this infinite mana, we will drop it into the Scion of Ur Dragon, and then we'll drop into a Niv Mizzet or a Realm Scorcher, Hellkite. We'll get into all the other infinite mana outlets in a second. But the cool thing about this is just honestly, it's just like that simple. And then we also have Breach. We talked about this before. Underworld Breach is just, you know, LED plus Brain Freeze, or Smothering Tithe plus Wheel plus Underworld Breach, all the different combinations. And lastly is Thassa's Oracle plus Tainted Pact or Demonic Consultation, or just having an empty library. Now, as you notice, these are our main 3 win cons, and 2 of those leverage the graveyard. So if there's any weakness that you know that your mana likes to exploit, being the graveyard, we are a heavy graveyard deck. Now, of course, we have the Thassa's as that backup win con, but just let's keep a spade a spade. Our graveyard is a resource that we love to use in this deck, and it can be seen as a weakness, but also can be as a strength. Because we have so many Reanimator enchantments, Savine's Reclamation, Underworld Breach, all these things to pull from the graveyard, our graveyard is an extension of our hand, making it really a strength. So you as a politicker, you as a pilot has to be able to take this momentary weakness into a long-term strength. And since we're in 5 colors, we can run all the good cards. So while like, say if in that event that our opponents do shut off our graveyard, whether it be through a Stax effect like Dauthi Voidwalker or Dranth Magistrate, it's okay, because we can still just lean on our card draw engines and find another way to win the game and close things out. Okay, now we talked about weaknesses and strengths, but we've been here before. You all have seen this deck on this channel before, so I want to talk about the switch out from the old deck tech to the new deck. Okay, starting off, I want to just touch on this one. Starting off, I want to touch just on this. All right, so it's been 12 switch outs, and you'll say like, hey T, that's not a lot of cards. And I promise you, 12 is more than you think about. When you think about the cEDH core cards, which can be anywhere from 50 to 70 cards, and then you have your staples within your colors, and like your identity comes in at about like 10 to 20 cards of the deck, depending on the commander and also in your play style. These 12 switch outs are huge, and we're gonna go card by card and show you others and show you all these amazing switch outs. So starting off, I'm going to show you all the first switch out being, we talked about old Gnawbone being this potential to have like Dockside in the command zone. In theory, it was really cool. We tried all the treasure dragons. We tried the ancient copper dragon or whatever it's called, the old Gnawbone. We tried all of them, and none of them really felt really amazing. But what did feel amazing is those hands where we mulliganed really low and we were able to get Scion of the Earth Dragon out. So we took out this form of ramp for Channel of the Suns. Not a common cEDH staple, but something that I love in this deck. Not only is it synergistic with our commander, it also has the potential of just being generic ramp. Notably, it is pay 3 colors and 1 green to get Wooburg. So even though that does help us cast our commander, it also just does simple things like, say if you got a Lotho in your hand in a Rhystic Study. All right, pay a white and a black, push the Lotho out. Use the blue and the last green and red to push the Rhystic Study out. You can't push out the double white pip cards, but there's so many things you can just push out very, very easily within this list, whether it be a tutor plus something else, whether it be holding up a little bit of interaction as you try to push a line, or once you, like say if you cast your silence effect and you want to go a little bit deeper, it gives you that wide array of colors and mana to leverage. So it being like having that slight mana pump, as well as just being, it's more of like a mid-game tutor, unless you have your Mana Vault or your Soul Ring on board to help push it out earlier game. I love it. So it's never really a dead card for me, and I really have found it having utility both in the early game when I just want to push Scion out because I don't have anything else to do, or in the late game where it's just like, hey, I just got my silence down, but I'm down 1 mana. Oh, it's okay. I'm trying to do my Entomb combo. I'm trying to do whatever not, or push Scion out, then go into a Final Fortune turn. All of that's possible now because of Channel of the Suns. Okay, love this switch out. It's awesome. If you're playing Scion and you aren't playing this, just think about it. It really is awesome. Okay, now the next switch out that we did is notably a lot of Scion pilots, or any deck that's trying to win with infinite mana, usually runs what notably called the Bomberman combo, or Auriok Salvagers plus Lion's Eye Diamond. Now we're on Breach, so we kept LED, but we did take Auriok Salvagers out because after like 20 plus games, I never used this win con. I never did. Like, it would always be like, I have multiple videos where I'm on my channel or on another person's channel where Auriok Salvagers was like post Breach, I'm already winning the game. I'm just like, oh, to make it clean, Auriok LED, make Infinite Storm, mill all out, and then wheel you all to kill you all. And at that point, it was never really used. And notably also, because usually once you get past turn 2, you usually want to do this combo behind the silence effect, because you're discarding your hand to LED as you're making the infinite mana. So your opponents just have to wait till you discard your hand and then remove your Auriok Salvagers or force a negation or mind break trap your LED, and you can't do anything about it unless your Breach is out to help you use the cards you just discarded. But at that point, you have LED and Breach on board. So then what are we running this card for? Not a bad card, but maybe not the strategy that we need for this specific deck. So what I did in place is I took Auriok Salvagers out and I put Orcish Bowmasters in. Okay, this was tough for me because I was in that spot where I was like, hey, I don't know if I want to introduce it into the game, because at the time I was running more mana dorks. We'll get to that, but I'm not running as many mana dorks just naturally because it's not really my play style. I'm not too much of a green mage, and it was cool. It was doing its thing. Everything was like Gucci. However, what I did find over time is like, all right, We are in a way more creature heavy meta post ban. There's just so many value engines or creature combos or just drawing that's going on. And honestly, it was crazy. The first game that I made this switch, Orcish Bowmasters won me the game through combat damage plus dragon beats. And it was phenomenal to see that this was just something that I can do now, not just for that, but also open up these new finisher lines, whether it be with Wargorger Dragon making infinite ETBs, or with Underworld Breach casting a Wheel of Fortune multiple times to just not to just kill the table through drawing, but just ping the table over and over and over. So this one's really, it's a slick switch out. I know most people would say, oh, it's a staple, just run it. What I encourage people to do is think about things before you put into your deck. Take the time to say, hey, I think this is a cool card. I think this is really powerful, but like, let me actually ask myself why I'm running it, not just put it in because it's a staple, quote unquote. Okay. So love this switch out. Everything was great. Next, we've talked about last time how we put copy artifact in, and honestly, it was awesome. I'll tag the gameplay right here. I actually was able to use this during on High Ground Gamings with B-Rad. I was able to use this in a game that I was actually able to get the win in, and it was awesome because I was able to copy somebody's Soul Ring, and it was really powerful and all these other cool things, and I loved it. What I did find though is after adding Orcish Bowmasters in and a lot of other really cool, interesting, powerful creatures that I can control and also my opponents control, what I found is, like, honestly, I want to be able to copy both artifacts and creatures. And even though it costs 1 more mana, putting in Phyrexian Metamorph over copy artifact was what I wanted to do. And after talking to the community, shout out to the TC community, y'all rock. Like, whenever I had like a question, I was like, I'm thinking about this. I need push and pull back so I can just think about this deeper. They offer a lot of awesome feedback, from Wavy Ashira to Bissy Baxton, to not just the patrons, but just the community members, just awesome people. And so we decided to add it Phyrexian Metamorph in, just whether it's copying our own Bowmasters and make our wheel more substantial and influential onto the game, or just copying our opponents like Valley Floodcallers or Esper Sentinels or whatever we want to do, or Lothal Corrupt Sheriffs. That was the game that I won where I was able to use a Mana Vault to go into Phyrexian Metamorph. So this, like, not only being that clone we need for creatures and artifacts, but notably just being that 3 colors that we can use a Soul Ring or Mana Vault just to push it out. Really phenomenal. So love it. Now, next one is a really, really big one. As you can see here, I was running the Spellseeker and Ephemerate combo. We'll knock this one out. Ephemerate, we took that out. We needed more card draw, so I took Ephemerate out for Archivist of Oghma. Really cool. It's just a draw engine. The one I really want to talk about is Spellseeker. If you all know me, I absolutely love Jeskai combos. That's honestly, I love white and blue for the protection and the card advantage, and red for the explosivity and extra mana and just combos that come from red. And that's really where my Spellseeker combo love came from. However, what I've been finding in my experience post-ban is that what ends up happening, unfortunately, is that Spellseeker plus protection for the Spellseeker combo is just too much mana without Dockside. It's one thing to lose Mana Crypt, it's one thing to lose J-Lo, but Dockside really made the Spellseeker combo possible, because what happens is it will cost 6 mana on the first turn, then you'll go into your final fortune turn, and if you don't have any of the other cards that are needed to combo, i.e. being either Enlightened Tutor or Vampiric Tutor, or your Underworld Breach, Brain Freeze, and all these other things, it's going to cost 7 mana on your second turn, which is not a lot of mana. But if we know TTC for my playstyle, I like to do things behind protection. So whether it's a silence effect or having a multitude of counter spells, at some point I had to be real with myself and said, there will be times where I will have this combo and just not go for it, because it's just like, I have the mana to put the combo out, but this guy got 2 mana open, he got 4 mana open. Like, do I really want to push this combo? And so I would find myself leaning more on my Wargorger Dragon combos, or on just a natural Underworld Breach. And so even though I love Spellseeker as a card, especially since we're on the Reanimator enchantment, so if there is a time where I can get into the graveyard and pull it back out, or, you know, kill it and do multiple loops, it was all cool and dandy. But it was just, I think in the post-ban meta, this card got really tanked in a way, and the combo line got really tanked, losing Dockside. So still not a bad card, and it hurts my heart because I love Jeskai. It's just it's tough to pull off without Dockside, without that explosiveness of mana. And especially when we are in black now, I will touch those in a little bit. We have Demonic Tutor lines where you can use just Demonic Tutor to pull off your entire breach line, and it can be done over 1 turn instead of 2. And when you just get all these things into proportion, just like I think it's time to let this go and open up new doors. So we've talked about, initially we took out Ephemerate for the Archivist. Ephemerate being originally was there for some creature protection on our board, but as well as flickering our Spellseeker for multiple like ETBs and all the other good stuff. But this kind of took us down a chain line of, first, I realized I wanted to bolster my other win con. So you're going to see the TTC mind of where things go and how things work out. So how this first thing works out is we have Dragonborn Looter. Dragonborn Looter is a colorless in the blue for pay 1, tap it, draw a card, then discard card. And you're saying, yes, it's a Dragon TT, but why would you want to run this? I want to run this because I realized I wanted to support my World Gorger Dragon line. And the idea of it was, okay, I put into the deck, if I'm trying to go for my World Gorger Dragon combo through my commander and I draw my commander, I can still cast my commander, wait a turn, and then do it. I liked the idea, I liked the direction, but I realized, I don't like the summoning sickness. And even though the dragon, but I did like I can just cast this from my hand for small value here and there, just paying the 1 mana to just draw a card, discard a card, Cool, in the right direction, not exactly what I want to do. The next one that I ended up adding in was called Chromium, the Mutable. 7 mana dragon, flash, this spell can't be countered, flying. Discard a card. Until the end of turn, Chromium the Mutable becomes a human with base power and toughness 1/1, loses all abilities and gains hexproof. It can't be blocked this turn. So it's like, all right, this is cool. You know, we doing the thing. Everything's all Gucci. I loved the protection this offered my commander, because if my commander's on board and I have 2 mana, I can turn Chromium into here and just discard any card to protect my commander. I love that there was no summoning sickness for when I was trying to discard my World Gorger Dragon to do my combo. I loved that this itself was blue, so I could still, if I drew it, I could just pitch it to my Chrome Mox, I could pitch it to my Force of Negation, I could pitch it to my Force of Will, and notably I also liked how big it was, how I can do creature beats with it, because it had flash. 7 mana is not the end of the world, and say if I'm not really seeing a really good window to win, I just want to sit back on 7 mana. It's like if you were sitting back on a Cyclonic Rift. I'm just hold up this 7 mana. If nobody really makes me waste any interaction, I'm gonna flash this on the instep and slowly but surely just start picking people out for 7 damage. And it was cool, it did the job. However, the reason it didn't stay in the deck longer was because what I found is like there were sometimes I drew it. Thank you for the follow. What's up, EDH? I'm doing phenomenal. How are you doing, brother? What I ended up finding though is that Chromium the Mutable was like, it was cool, but when I drew it in hand, I didn't mind it because blue spell, pitch, I told y'all. But it was just like, if it's in my hand, it's not doing its purpose. It's not doing the purpose of being that discard outlet in the command zone. So then I was like, I just went back to my back. I was like, what do I want to do? Like, how can I support this World Gorger Dragon line more from the command zone? And then it just popped in my head. How about instead of trying to support the World Gorger Dragon combo, how about I found a new creative way to make infinite mana, but also still kind of support the World Gorger Dragon combo? So what we ended up doing is we just went from Spellseeker into, this is my newest playtest, being Valley Floodcaller. Now, if you all not familiar, this is flash. You cast non-creature spells as though they had flash, and then, you know, it just enables everything. It's a 2/2 otter wizard. It has the cool creature type. Honestly, sexy ass art. Love this. What I ended up finding though is that the cool thing about this is most times when I needed a discard outlet, I was drawing so many cards. What I could do is just discard World Gorger Dragon to hand size. And then because Valley Floodcaller is now in that slot, when I draw it, it generically pushes my deck to be better with breach lines, with maybe not Thassa's because that's a creature, but I could do breach lines. I could do my reanimation enchantment on my World Gorger Dragon, and if I have certain outlets, I can still do it, even though if I don't have access to my commander to tutor my outlet to my graveyard. But what I really liked about this is that it opened a new world of, hey, not only can this allow me to use my end step as my discard outlet, and then my cleanup step as my discard outlet, and then do cool things, I can also do Into the Flood Maw, take that out. Even though I love it, I actually love Into the Flood Maw. It's really cool. It came out in Bloomborough just like Valley Floodcaller. but let's add in Retraction Helix. And so now we have this layered combo of, oh shit, now I can use the cleanup step as the supporting the Wargorger Dragon, but now I have another way to make infinite mana to sink into those big dragons we talked about. But with that being said, I was like, this is more to like the line of how I wanted to do things. And so have I experienced it in the game yet? No, but this is my theory. We are testing this out with TTC, and that's what we're doing right now. Let's see. We got EDH saying not bad, been slacking this week on MTG content. It's all good, brother. It's one day at a time. You like it, especially in this winter season. I gotta give flowers to them. Play to win. I love that their triggers. They said we're gonna do shorter content because it's tough to take days off when you do weekly content. So just like we'll do something shorter, so then I can intentionally take more time to rest, spend time with family, and all the other cool stuff. And we have G Stein saying, "What Wargorger deck?" Ooh, yes. We are playing Scion of the Dragon. This is a Wooburg commander that we put Wargorger Dragon in the graveyard using the commander or within Tomb, or just like I just got done saying with discarding from hand size. And then we use our reanimator enchantments to just loop it if you're not already familiar with that. So we got Animate Dead, Dance of the Dead, and Necromancy. Yeah, I'm telling you, bro. It's funny. There's been so many good printings. Like, I'm personally only running 4 dragons, and that's because I'm not a huge cast the commander from the command zone kind of cat, but there's a lot of new powerful dragons that's been printed ever since the printing of this deck. So I'm just running Ancient Silver Dragon to help have the explosive card draw from the command zone. Of course, Wargorger Dragon, and I have these 2 outlets that are also just dragon beaters and pingers, say if there's an OBM or anything on the board. So really fun stuff. I really love it. But back to our when it comes to our changes, though, that's kind of where our head's at. I'm playtesting the Valley Floodcaller plus the Retraction Helix. We're playtesting it. We're kind of feeling things out, and this is what we do. We just figure out if this is with the direction we want to go. On to the next one, though. After mainly taking out Spellseeker, I found that Worldly Tutor got worse and worse, because the main reason I would want Worldly Tutor was to either get Auriok Salvagers here or to get Spellseeker so I can get them closer to the win line. And not that finding OBM or Phyrexian Metamorph or Archivist is bad, but I'm usually like the best target at this point now is to use a Worldly Tutor to be able to go get an Esper Sentinel, which is cool, but it's like I just had to call a spade a spade. I was like, I'm not using this card anymore, and I'm not really much of a green mage. I'm gonna keep saying that. So what we did was we took Worldly Tutor out, and I'm playtesting Praetor's Grasp to be, now that we have the Valley Floodcaller, say if I'm able to either make the infinite mana or I just have a bunch of mana, I'm able to use Praetor's Grasp now as like another way to find an outlet from my opponent's decks to help me finish the game out. If I have infinite mana or however I plan on finishing the game, I can use Praetor's Grasp to do that thing, and it's like all fun and games. So I'm liking it so far. I am running, we'll get to this, I'm running Dark Ritual and other things along that line now, so it's easier to push this one out even on turn 1 to be able to go, if I have land, Chrome Mox, I can go Dark Ritual, go grab somebody's Fish or Esper, then use the Chrome Mox, go ahead and cast those on turn 1. So some really interesting turn 1 plays, okay? Now, notably, we also have the next change, okay? This is, I would have called this section the downfall of TTC's green career, because as you can see, I took out a lot of green cards. It's not my play style. I like to have a super empty board state when I play, because I leverage that within my politicking. So the first big one that we took out, and actually was really hard, we took Ignoble Hierarch. Well, this one wasn't too hard. We took Ignoble Hierarch out for Simian Spirit Guide, simply for the thing, even though it does give us green, black, and red, and this one only gives us red. Us now having Archivist of Oghma, we want to be, or like Bowmasters, we want to be able to push these things out a little bit earlier, so the temporary mana was very helpful. So that was the first one, super simple, gets to the point. The next one we took out was Noble Hierarch, notably. And these next changes are going to be interesting, but what I found is, even though I love Noble Hierarch, it really does support that white and blue strategy, because the deck is basically like an Esper plus red strategy, like a Sans green list with a splash of green for like spells like Channel of the Sun or Veil of Summer. What I ended up finding, though, which was like, honestly, the truth is, we took out Noble Hierarch for Deflecting Swat because we do the Wargorger Dragon combo, we're very susceptible to both Seiju and Odawara. And so what I found is my ramp package was already fine. I didn't need any more ramp. So I said, let's take the ramp out and add some more protection in for ourselves, because even if I get a silence effect off, it doesn't matter if like they just both sage you my enchantment when I'm trying to do the Wargorge or Dragon combo, or they both sage you my Underworld Breach while I'm pulling off my combo. So I said, you know what? It's a 3 mana piece of interaction. That's cool. However, what I found over time, even though I'm not too much of a cast the commander type of player, being able to cast my commander and pass turn and know that I still have some type of free interaction hand is still phenomenal. So thus far, I've really been enjoying this change, and I haven't been missing Noble Hierarch outside of those times that I remember that it gave me the little bit of mana needed to do very slick lines and cool things. So it's still tough. I'm still looking at possibly putting Noble Hierarch back into the deck, but as of right now, Deflecting Swat is doing an amazing job. The next change that we took out was, notably, we took out Talisman of Creativity, another mana, another piece of ramp. In that same vein of, I knew my ramp package felt fine, but there was just times where I just didn't feel like I had enough interaction for the list. We took Talisman of Creativity out and we added in Strict Serenade. I have to give humongous shout outs to both Bissy, but also Newsom. These are both TC community members. Newsom was the first one to say this, that he was saying that he preferred Swan Song over Strix. Strix over Swan Song. And though I prefer keeping Swan Song on the list, it sat with me with like, there was times in games where players would just win with a singular creature like Derevi, Najila, or these new devoted druid lines, and it's just they're not using a lot of non-creatures anymore. So having Strict Serenade come down and say, all right, I'm going to be able to hit your Grand Abolisher, I can hit your Teferi, as well as I can hit now your One Ring if it's early game, and I just want to make sure you don't get too much in the card advantage with the Seaboard Muses and all the green mages out there. No shade to y'all, it's not me, but with all those different things out, I've really been loving this card a lot. So honestly, oh yeah, what's up, News? I'm just being honest, like shout out to Newsom, he's in the chat right now. I have to give you flowers. Like, you and Bissy was really the ones to like kind of push me to think about this one a little longer. Like, it was always lingering in the back of my head since you first brought it up, but I want to say thank you to Newsom and Bissy. I love the community so much, but these cats are really like, they made me think. And this has been awesome. I actually, in gameplay that will be that has already come out in the past, it's come up in multiple games where whether it's stopping a Grand Abolisher, stopping a combo piece, or just whatever it may be, it's really phenomenal to just be able to just say, hey, I'm gonna just stop it. And like I said, my ramp package surprisingly has been phenomenal. I have not needed the third talisman, which I'm kind of new to the land base and mana base of 5. Well, I'm not new to it, but I'm finding that for this current meta, you don't need as many talismans as I may need, for example, with my Marnies list, where I'm doing Felwar, Arcane, and all 3 talismans. So really easy change, straight to the point, gets the job done. Within still the ramp package though, we went from taking Ken and Bonner Prodigy out, because as you can see, we taking a talisman out, we taking Ignoble Hierarch out. Kennen just became more and more of a dead card, and like not a bad card, but a dead card for our list specifically. And what we did was we took Ken and Bonner Prodigy, and we've talked about it already a little bit, Dark Ritual. This one is like, honestly, like, it was a card that I was never against, but I just wasn't running it because like I'm not running Adonais, I'm not running Necro. But what I did recognize that I'm running is that Dark Ritual enables so many like just interesting early turn 1, turn 2 lines, whether it be helping get out the Channel of the Suns to get our commander out on turn 2, whether it is getting the One Ring out or a Smothering Tithe out on turn 1 to turn 2, whether it's honestly winning on turn 2 with Entomb plus an Animate Dead. It's like, there's so it's funny, like such a simple card, such a powerful card, but I could talk about this all day. So many lines have been open with Dark Ritual. Hopefully tonight in tonight's gameplay that you all can see this. I love this card. It's phenomenal, like for real, really, really good. The next one we have for our switch outs, and the final one is honestly one of my favorite switch outs. I have to give a shout out to D-Trove on this one. We took Taiga out, and initially I was running Commercial District, which is the red and red and green Surveil land, but we added in Undercity Sewers because it's, we're running more blue-black, but just the introduction of a Surveil land at all in our list. I'm gonna be honest, like, I've never been against these. I just wasn't always a huge fan of them because I'm like, I'm gonna be honest, y'all, like, I'm not a huge fan of tap lands. But in this specific list where we leverage the graveyard so much, being able to be like, all right, I have like in the worst, this the floor. I have nothing else going on. I'm just going to fetch for the Surveil land just to get rid of this next land on top of my library. Or the ceiling being, oh shit, I'm going to fetch Surveil in the stack. I have a Vampiric Tutor and an Animate Dead. I'm going to Vampiric Tutor, put my World Gorger Dragon on top, Surveil into the graveyard, then go Animate Dead. That's a whole new line that was never possible. The biggest reason though, and we'll get more into this when we get to our win con section, is that at the end of the day, this actually combos with our World Gorger Dragon. Notably because each time it ETBs, when World Gorger Dragon brings everything back in, when it's the Reanimator enchantment plus World Gorger Dragon, it surveils. Basically, it mills us out, meaning that we can end the loop on our Thassa's Oracle or whatever combo we want to do. Fairy Mastermind plus we already have Angel's Grace in hand, or whatever we want to do. We can do all of that just by having a Surveil land on the board. So it just got to the point where the pros for this list, they just outdid the cons. I'm gonna be fully transparent. I love this. I love this card so much. So these were our switch outs. If you have any questions, let me know. But everything really, these changes have been, it's funny. Like I see them and like they're so few, but they just been phenomenal. So I love them a lot. And if you're interested in this list and you saw the previous video and still running these old cards, please take a second and just ponder whether any of these cards are something that can help get your brew to the next level. Notably though, I will bring up again, I'm still playing around with Valley Floodcaller and Retraction Helix to see if they are good for the current brew, but I have high hopes for them because I trust the community. A lot of people love this combo. Maybe TTC will love it too. Thank you, G Stein. That's some beautiful tech. Yeah. We got G Stein also saying, I'm a Tiny Bones player. I love off meta decks that can work. Facts. I really agree with you a lot. I find a lot of times that people think off meta means unviable. And I don't fully agree with that, respectfully. I do think that off meta just means it's just either not popular or it just means that people haven't found a way to make it viable. I love this. Actually, someone says, they say it's off meta until it becomes popular, until everyone starts playing it. There was a time where Magda was off meta. There was a time where, what is that Azorius commander? Oh my gosh. It's a really good, powerful commander. Oh my gosh, it's slipping my tongue. Not the new Plagon, but the OG one. It is, oh my gosh. If y'all know that Azorius commander, it's 3 mana. It leverages the graveyard a lot and you win with like the Lotus Bloom. Tameshi, thank you. Tameshi is another one that was off meta until everyone started playing it because they realized like, oh shit, this commander is good as fuck. I'm like, yes, it is good as fuck, y'all. And it's like these commanders are just something like we can just like, hey, bro, we can sit here all day and talk about what's viable and what's viable and what's not viable. But at the end of the day, as long as you take your time when you brew and you hone yourself as a pilot, I think any deck could be viable. Some more than others. Like no one's gonna sit here and go back and forth with me and tell me Kennen's not a good deck. But if you could take a great pilot on Side of the Ur Dragon, put it versus someone who's a little on like a Kennen, I'm gonna vote on Side of the Ur Dragon every time. So that's my opinion. I do want to get to win cons though, because I'm gonna be honest, like we talked about win cons a little bit, but with these recent changes, there's actually been a lot of new win cons that have come around. But before we do, I just have one thing to say to y'all. If you've been loving what we've been doing and you want to find more ways to support the show, we have a plethora. Starting off, once again, check out the TC community. It is a free to join Discord community where we brew decks, we jam games to have a great time talking about spoilers and just the community in our life and all the amazing things that come with just being TCG players. Now, if you want extra perks like playing on our live streams, shoutouts on our streams and YouTube videos, free proxies and discount codes, and a plethora of more perks, please check out the Thunder Legion. This is our Patreon community where they get all these perks and more. I want to give a huge shout out to our Mono Red patrons, Wavy Ashira, Bissy Baxon, the Praetor, B-Rad, and Sir Trekkie. These guys rock and they keep the lights on the way that they could not imagine. And last but not least, if you say, hey, T, I don't want the Patreon, the proxies, the perks. I just want to say one time for the fun time that I love what you do and I want to support you. Don't worry. Check the link out in the bio. You can buy me a coffee. It keeps me up and keeps the lights on. But let's get into these win cons. I'm not going to lie. I'm glad y'all were here with me with my updates and all these amazing things. But win cons are honestly, that's how I start building my decks. And I'm going to show you what goes through TTC's mind when I'm trying to brew, when I'm trying to whoop tail. We got G Stein saying, that's my big thing with Tiny Bones is finding ways to make it just better. I take it to events and do okay or find myself just one turn short. So I'm always looking for input on it. If you're not already in the TC community, please drop your list in there. I believe I have to find them. At me in the TC community. There's another Tiny Bones pilot that I know, and I will find him for you later on. Yeah. All right. Win cons. Starting off with our infinite mana and mash draw engines. Okay. We have Lion's Eye Diamond. What this is just LED plus Underworld Breach plus Wheel of Fortune. I count this just as an infinite draw because usually you want to end off with Brain Freeze, because if you keep willing your opponents, they will eventually draw into their Otawara or Boseiju or whatever not, and you'll have enough mana to navigate it, but it's just something to just know that you can get near infinite mill, near infinite card draw, and near infinite color mana. So really cool. Next is just simple. We take out this Lion's Eye Diamond, we add in the Smothering Tide to go Smothering Tide plus Underworld Breach plus Wheel of Fortune. Really love this combo. Honestly, it's fun as fuck. Next, we have the new one that we talked about earlier, Valley Floodcaller plus Retraction Helix plus a 1/0 mana rock or net positive rock that can tap for mana after being produced, i.e. like Mana Vault or Soul Ring or Mox Opal. And then you need a bird, a rat, or otter, or frog. Like, you know, for example, bird. This works with Birds of Paradise or whatever you want, or Valley Floodcaller if it doesn't have Summoning Sickness. And so what you do is you'll cast your Retraction Helix on the Valley Floodcaller or your other bird, otter, and rats. And so every time you give it that ability, tap it, return your mana rock, and then just loop it to make infinite colored mana or colorless mana with Mana Vault and Soul Ring. And then you're able to convert that into colored mana using cards like Arcane Signet or Felwar Stone. Super simple, straight to the point. And then we'll talk about our outlets in a second, but I love this combo. I just love them as cards. I was always hesitant that whether Retraction Helix would be viable as an individual card, because I was like, I don't run a lot of I don't always like stick to my board. But what I find is most times I usually have it. It's funny when I put in the deck just to play around with it, I was goldfishing. I was like, oh, I usually have one creature out, and you just don't think about like whether it's an Esper symbol or just an Archivist or a Fairy Mastermind. It just sits on board and it's just like it's not doing anything. I'm not attacking with it because it's a 1/1, and so I'm just like, this is a perfect Retraction Helix target. Notably, your opponents can fizzle your bounce by removing your target. So that is still something I'm playing around with and seeing if I'm okay with that being a problem. But for now, it's getting the job done. No complaints. I'm cool with it. Okay. Our next combos are our World Gorger Dragon combos. And notably, that's just Animate Dead, Dance of the Dead, and Necromancy. If you're not familiar how these combos work, is you will have World Gorger Dragon into your graveyard and another creature in any graveyard. Once you cast your Reanimator enchantment, they will target your World Gorger Dragon, and when the World Gorger Dragon enters the battlefield, it will exile all your permanents on board, including the enchantment, and then you will go ahead and sacrifice because of the ending text of all these, where once the enchantment is gone, World Gorger Dragon gets sacrificed, and then the enchantment will come back. It will retarget the World Gorger Dragon, and the loop will happen. And in between these flickers, you will float your mana and make infinite mana of all your colors, and super simple. I do want to touch on notably though is World Gorger Dragon plus Surveil Lands. Notably, I'm running Undercity Sewers, which I really love. Blue back Demir, baby. The cool thing, we talked about this, is infinite self-mill. This is the big reason why we run these Surveil Lands. Okay, now the easiest way is just infinite self-mill, and it will end the Reanimator loop on Thassa's Oracle. Super simple, win the game. There's nothing else to talk about. The next way is notably we can do infinite self-mill, make sure that we are able to make infinite red and blue mana, and then we can end the Reanimator loop on either our Niv Mizzet Draco Genius, because all of our cards or as much of our deck that we want to, we put as much as we want to the graveyard, and then we can have that Realm or the Realm Scorcher Hellkite to just do infinite non-combat damage to our opponents, which is powerful. But if they have the One Ring protection or whatever not, notably if or they have a Veil of Summer active, these don't work. But most of the time we're winning behind the silence effect, so you'll be fine. The next one is, though, one of my favorites. I run these synergy pieces all the time, these combo pieces, because they're just in my opinion generically solid cards. You'll do infinite self-mill. You want to have at least infinite blue mana. You want to have Angel's Grace in hand, and you can end the Reanimator loop on Fairy Mastermind. Notably, if you're not familiar with Fairy Mastermind, it is a colorless and a blue, has flash, flying, and is a 2/1. it just has the static ability of whenever your opponents draw their second card each turn, you draw a card. And then the thing is though, when you're it does have an activated ability of 3 colors and a blue. Each player draws a card. So once you cast Angel's Grace, you can put infinite activations or 1,000 activations on Fairy Mastermind to kill your opponents without killing yourself. Cool. We get it. We get it. We get it. Boom. Super simple. I love this win con, and because notably I do still run Final Fortune even though I'm not on the Spellseeker combo, and I'm not perfect. I'm gonna tell it myself. Sometimes Angel's Grace just helps when I may fumble up a little bit on my Final Fortune turn. I just dang, I fumbled up. It's okay. I still got Angel's Grace. Or notably early game, say that Rocksire, whoever else is doing like Thassa shenanigans. It's not the best option, but it is a very viable option because I'm not on a lot of green cards, so I can't do the endurance like, oh, refill the library back up. Angel's Grace is a great way to say, hey, I cast this, your Thassa's ETB with the Thassa's ETB on the stack, and I don't lose the game. So it's fun. It's funny. Shout out to B-Rad. If you ever shout out to B-Rad on his the Jolly Balloon Man deck. If you ever see him have 1 mana open, he has an Angel's Grace in hand. Don't fall for it. He has an Angel's Grace in hand. If you negate Thassa's without protection, you will lose. Notably, this does have split second, so you have to pop out that silence to force your opponents to use their Angel's Graces like that. We got Absolute 76 saying never trust Brad with 1 white mana open. I trust you, whether it's a Angel's Grace or a silence or whatever, that brother will have the answer for you. So don't play around with them. All right. Notably, we are not running a lot of Queen cons that like I was before, but I took them out. Notably, we took out the Smothering Tithe plus Fairy Mastermind combo with both Kennen and Goldspan Dragon. The 3 pieces was a little too much for me, so I was like, we'll take them out. It's not the end of the world. Notably, we're also not running ISO Rev. It's not a bad combo. I find personally with my deck being 5 colors, I have other options to make infinite mana. And notably, even though I like ISO Rev in something like Marnia's Calgar, which is an Esper deck, there's so many ways to stop this combo. Whether it's a Dreadnought Magistrate because you're casting from exile, whether it's a Collector Oof or some other No Rod effect because it's an artifact, whether it is I don't know, what are the other infinite ways to stop this? Whether it's just a regular counter spell. Come on. This combo honestly gets stopped by so many things. It's not bad. Like I said, I like it. It's still viable, and even as we enter 2025, I do find this is like the last combo I like adding to my decks if I'm looking for another way to make infinite mana. And because this deck has red, I honestly, Breach is just a better combo for this list. And we have Thassa's, and I don't need a billion ways to make infinite mana. Warghost Dragon and Valley Floodcaller, that's enough for me right now. And lastly, we are not running Hullbreaker Horror. Another card, I loved this card pre-ban, whether it was looping Dockside, whether it was looping Mana Crypt, using J-Lo with the Soul Ring to make infinite colorless, to put into a talisman, or whatever you want to do. Post-ban, I don't know about y'all. TTC though has found that it sometimes can feel a little bit tougher to pull this combo out, especially without Mana Crypt. Nowadays, a lot of times when you're looping your artifacts with Hullbreaker Horror, you're using your artifacts, these mana rocks. And now Mana Vault is the best one, or really the only one that can loop with your 2 mana talismans or your Felwar Stone or your Arcane Signet. So though I don't think the combo is bad, of course you got Mox Opal and other things, but the leanness of being able to use Mana Crypt plus a talisman to just get that first initial infinite colorless out the way was just always a thing that I loved. And Mana Crypt was always a card you would just tutor for. You literally just, you get your draw, like, what it was just like, you just wanted to go turn 2 Rhystic Study, you would Enlighten Tutor and stuff, go get your crypt and then land. I mean, you play your land, tap your crypt and your other land and just push the Rhystic Study out. And yes, you're progressing the early game, but for the late game, that Mana Crypt is always there to do with your Hullbreaker Horror line. So for me, I think that this is still a great win con for our Teamer and other big mana decks like Ken and Bond and Prodigy. However, I do think unless you're a big mana deck that just spews out mana in a really disgusting way like Rock Thrash or things like that, I'm not going to recommend you run Hullbreaker Horror, but that's TTC's opinion. Take it as a grain of salt. Let's get to these outlets and finishers though. First off, come on y'all. We're playing cEDH. Thassa's Oracle. Run it. It's good. I like it. It's good. Come on. Thassa's Oracle, whether it's drawing your deck out with Fairy Mastermind, milling yourself out with Brain Freeze, or just playing Demonic Consultation or Chain Impact. Super simple, gets the job done. What are we talking about? It's easy. We've already talked about this, but notably, if we're able to make that infinite blue mana, we can use Angel's Grace plus Fairy Mastermind to draw our opponents out, post making infinite blue mana. Now, we also have the same Angel's Grace combo, but instead of with Fairy Mastermind, if we are doing a Breach combo with LED and Wheel of Fortune, we can continue to cast our Wheel infinitely without worrying about killing ourselves. We just kill our opponents. So super simple. Just be cognizant about the both, like I said, the Bosejus and the Odawaras. You want to do this behind the silence effect, and you want to make sure you don't get rid of your Savine's Reclamation while you're doing your Breach combo. That's very important. So and you also want to make sure you're keeping men on the side, so as you're willing your opponents, you can just always be comfortable and say, oh, I don't mind if they say, oh, if I have the Odawara, I have the Boseju, I don't care. Like, I'm just going to Savine's it back from the graveyard, and then unless y'all all have the answer, I'll be fine. So cool. Next is, of course, is just Brain Freeze plus a Force Will. We talked about this a little bit, but you can Brain Freeze your opponents out and then just cast either a Wheel of Fortune or activate Fairy Mastermind to kill your opponents right there. Some people like to just pass the turn, which is fine. I don't think in a flash speed meta it's okay to pass the turn. So while my silence effect is still active, I like to go, hey, let's just end this conversation. Game is over. Cast Will. I've just milled y'all out. Let's just cast Wheel of Fortune and just end this conversation. Notably, next, we talked about these very lightly, but Obium has been a juggernaut in this deck, not just as an individual card, but as an outlet for the list. So whether it is being Orcish Bowmasters plus Underworld's Reach plus Smothering Tithe LED, or Smothering Tithe or LED plus a wheel, we can now, instead of trying to use Angel's Grace as part of the outlet, we can use Bowmasters to, we're willing our opponents and we're pinging them in the face as we're going through the wheel loop. Next, you can also, I need to double check this one. This is actually not correct, so do not do this. You cannot infinitely bounce the Orcish Bowmasters with the Valley Floodcaller and Retraction Helix unless you have like something like a Displacerkin in your deck, which if you're doing Teferikin, that's fine. But notably, the point I'm trying to make is this does not work with the infinite bounces, so don't do this. But what does work is infinite flickers with World Gorger Dragon. With having Orcish Bowmasters on board, you just infinitely flicker, and your Bowmasters on each ETB, you'll lose the Orc army, but you will infinitely just have infinite ETBs of OBM and kill the table like that. Something super something that is super simple. Now, we've already talked about these. We have Niv Mizzet, Draco Genius, and Realm Scorcher Hellkite. If you have infinite blue and red or infinite red, and you just activate your commander, boom, kill the table. I love this. These are honestly my fun combos when I'm just trying to have fun. I'm like, hey, look, I can kill y'all in 10 different ways, but I have infinite mana. I'm just gonna just drop them into a dragon. And notably, I bring this dragon up a lot. These are actually these are just great utility dragons as well. If you find them in your hand, they're great for just starting to put pressure on life totals. Notably, Niv Mizzet Draco Genius is a little bit of a draw engine. So if you find yourself, oh shit, I got a bunch of mana from like a Smothering Tithe, my commander's on board, I'm just going to activate, put Niv Mizzet Draco Genius on board, and just start pinging people in the face one at a time to draw those cards. I've done that actually one game using that strategy. Also, I love Realm Scorcher Hellkite because it has the utility of I can cast this from my hand, and it actually has like, it actually can help you get closer to that wind. So you can you can either use the bargain ability to ping things off, or you can cast this dragon and then use the new colored mana you get of any 4 colors from sacking either an artifact, enchantment, or token as you cast this to help push out. I've done it where I've helped someone kill my Bowmaster and reanimate it, so I bounced my own Bowmaster and then recasted it from my hand using the Realm Scorcher Hellkite bargain ability. So something super simple. Notably, the last win cons and finishers we have for this list is non-combat pings plus combat damage swings. I know it rhymes. It's a little it's super simple. Whether it's OBM plus Realm Scorcher Hellkite or Niv Mizzet Draco Genius, these pings add up over time and they're lethal. And as well as we do run an 8/8 in our list, we do run these fat ass Orc army, and we also have Valley Floodcaller right now on the list that can grow with our non-creature spells. Putting combat damage and non-combat pings on people will add up over time. Okay, and last but not least, Preator's Grasp. Honestly, it may not be a full mainstay yet, but honestly in my head it is. It is great for saying, oh, I don't have any finishers. Just grab it from your opponents. We're playing cEDH. It's really easy for everybody just to have very similar outlets, okay? Now, when it comes to outlets I'm not currently running, we've talked about this. I'm not running Goldspan Dragon or Kennen with Angel's Grace to be able to kill everybody like that. I'm notably not running the Bomberman combo anymore. I'm also not running Ball's Invoker, which is another outlet for infinite mana, notably because the activation cost of 8 is unrealistic. We also have Curiosity plus Niv Mizzet. We talked about this before. Not a bad combo. Not something that I want to do with my list because it's a little too commander dependent. And Niv Mizzet Perun itself, even though it's powerful, once you get it down, it's a little tough to get down by itself. And also made us run Time Twister to reset the library to finish the Niv Perun loop, but that's neither here nor there. Notably, we've already talked about the Kennen, all the other shenanigans with that, and just Kennen was just awesome card. I have to give huge shout outs to Bissy Baxton. When I was running more dorks and running the extra talisman, Kennen actually felt like, I always told him, it didn't feel like, if y'all know Dragon Ball Z, it never felt like a big, like it never, what was the attack called? It never felt like the Spirit Bomb. It felt more like a Kaioken, where it wasn't the finisher. It was more just super boosting our deck and allowing us to do things that we could never do before. However, when you take out your mana dorks out and take out a talisman and you add more rituals and temporary mana, just Kennen gets a little bit worse. And I think it's still a great card, and I think it's going to be awesome because we can still use Praetor's Grasp or other things to grab it from other players or a clone. But I will say notably, it just couldn't stand the list anymore. We say G Stein says, big note on Praetor's Grasp for newer players, you still have to pay for the card with the mana value it has printed on the card. True. Be very cognizant that if you don't have the mana to do your thing after your combo, you can fuck up like that. But it's usually okay because most of the times we're doing Breach or Thassus or infinite mana combos, which allows us to cover that hurdle, but please be conscious of that. And we also have Absolute say, I like that DBZ reference. That makes sense to me. Not want a Kennen alt art with Goku going Kaioken. Literally, like that like so many people run it in the 99. I get it, Kennen Basalt. Like we all think about this in the game. Boom. Numbers like Kennen's just a supercharger. It just makes your deck go fucking crazy. So I love it. I will say this again. Shout out to Bissy Baxton. Great include for the season it was in. I did have to let it go, unfortunately. Even with the activated building, just putting dragons onto the field. Really, really great. So combo lines. We talk about these. I talk about these a lot. If you all wonder, how do I get to a certain commander? Most times it is because of the combo lines. Okay. When I think about combo lines, I'm thinking about, can I use 1 to 2 cards to win the entire game? You know what I'm saying? So some examples, if you all hit enable tags on my page, you can see under win cons, I see my reanimator enchantments as 1 card combo, 1 card combos with my commander. I see demonic tutor and as a 1 card combo because you can assemble the full breach combo with just demonic tutor. Entomb plus Underworld Breach is a 2 card combo, and notably, and also it's a 2 card combo with our reanimator enchantments if you don't have access to your commander. And notably, lastly, Intuition. We all know this one. It's a 1 card combo enabler. But I want to quickly just take some time to go through these 1 card and 2 card combo enablers, just so you all can see the power of saying, oh, I have a shit ton of mana. It's turn 4 or 5 in cEDH, which by that time, whether you got your Smothering Tithe out or whatever else going on, now I'm trying to win the game, but I don't have time to look for 3 cards. I just need 1 card and I have a Vampiric Tutor. Can I win the game if I just vamp for this 1 card? So starting off is the Intuition Breach combo. Intuition is search your library for 3 cards and reveal them to target opponent. He or she chooses 1, put that card into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Shuffle your library afterwards. Most times that Intuition pile will look like a Lion's Eye Diamond plus Savine's Reclamation plus an Underworld Breach, meaning that no matter what card they put into your hand, you're able to fill the Breach combo by recasting Intuition to go getting Brain Freeze. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to ask down in the comment section below. But it's a really simple combo that I personally love. But the complexity of it comes in understanding that you have to untap with at least 5 mana, because if they put the Sevinne's Reclamation into your graveyard, you got to be able to flashback it. Okay. Next combo, we got Demonic Tutor Breach combo line. Something that I'm really surprised that people probably do passively, but nobody really talks about it. If you're a Grixis deck, if you are a Grixis deck, and you run Demonic Tutor and the Breach line, you can just win the game with just Demonic Tutor and 6 cards in your graveyard / your hand and freaking 7 mana. Like it's funny. Like, I don't play a lot of Grixis, so I didn't think about it till I just sat down and said, this is busted. And honestly, how it works is just simply you cast Demonic Tutor, go get Underworld Breach. Then you cast Underworld Breach. You're going to recast Demonic Tutor by paying the escape cost of exiling 3 additional cards. Then you're going to follow that up by going to go get Lion's Eye Diamond. Following that, cast the LED from hand, crack it for 3 black, and then you can use that 3 black and more cards put into your graveyard to recast Demonic Tutor again, this time going to get Brain Freeze. And then you use 1 blue mana that's left from your mana base to go get Brain Freeze and the black mana from LED, and then you use the the blue mana from your mana base to cast Brain Freeze. And with literally 1 card, you've assembled the Underworld Breach, Lion's Eye Diamond, press Brain Freeze combo, and it costs 3 colors, 2 black, 1 red, and 1 blue to do. Why don't we talk about this more again? Like, I know we do it passively, but can we just talk about this busted? Maybe TTC's been under the rock. I don't know, but that's busted to me. I'm just gonna keep it a stack with you. Let's see. Next we have before we do, actually, we got very quickly. We got Nitro saying, I think Timna Thrasios is viable, but that's just me. What's up, D-Trove? I don't know, man. Timber Thrasios is not he's not really doing well in the tournaments, bro. That deck has been cracked. I love red, so you won't see TTC play it, but honestly, every time I match up against this deck now, I'm like, oh god, I cannot let them get an advantage and down because they're so fucking good. We also got G Stein saying Animar was a house. It was, especially when Dockside was printed. I've seen some post-ban like lists still do viable things, but pre-ban when it was Dockside Mania, oh, so fucking good. We also got G Stein saying TNT is doing stuff right now. Big facts, it is. yeah. G Stein, D-Trove is trolling us, bro. All the way, he's trolling us. All right. Next and last 1 card combo line for the list is if you have, 9 mana plus Animate Dead, Dance of the Dead, or Necromancy, you can win the game. 10 mana if you have Necromancy. And I know you're going to say, hey, TTC, that's an unrealistic amount of mana. I don't know if y'all play anything like Smothering Tithe, Lotho, Soul Ring, Mana Vault. There's a lot of ways to make mana. And even with this list running Channel of the Suns, there's so many ways to make this amount of mana. Just trust me. But follow TTC. All you need to do is, if you have your Worldguard Dragon in your library or in your graveyard, you have a non-damage mana source that taps for white, blue, black, red, and green, and you have Niv Mizzet, Draco Genius, Realm Scorcher, Hellkite already in your graveyard or in your library, and then you need to have one of these enchantments in hand. You can do this combo. So how it simply works is very simple. You cast your commander, activate its ability to put Worldguard Dragon into the graveyard. Then you're going to cast one of your Reanimator enchantments. Once again, Animate Dead, Dance of the Dead, or Necromancy. To return the Worldguard Dragon from the graveyard to the battlefield, you'll create the loop that we talked about earlier, where in between loops of Worldguard Dragon being sacrificed and then reanimated, you're going to float your mana to make infinite white, blue, black, red, and green mana. Notably, you only need the blue and the infinite red and blue mana to do for your outlets of Niv Mizzet, Draco Genius, and Realm Scorcher Hellkite, but you do need the white, flip that. You only need to be able to make infinite blue and black mana post the Worldguard Dragon flips, because you already have your commander on board. But if for some reason someone removes that commander, being whether it's in between the loops or something happens where like your commander doesn't stay on board, you need to be able to have at least the Wooburg to recast your commander to go get your outlet. So that's something to keep in mind. Like things like Command Tower and Exotic Orchard are great in this list because you don't have to worry about your fetches as you play the game, because you know, oh, when I'm ready to do my combo, I'll just infinitely tap them. Where on the flip side, things like City of Brass and Mana Confluence aren't as viable for this combo specifically because you're not able to make infinite mana because each of them ping you each time the loop goes through. But like I said, you make that infinite mana, you either put into Niv Mizzet, Draco Genius, or Realm Scorcher Hellkite, and you win the game, kill the table. Now, we've already talked about these, but we do have some 1-card combo lines that we're not running. We've talked about the Spellseeker line we're not running anymore. Not a bad combo, just it was too much mana. I didn't initially, I did not realize that how much Dockside enabled these ridiculous mana combos, and so we had to let that one go. Next one, we've talked about this one. Please check out this video example. But if you run to Fairy Time Raveler and Displacer Kitten and Witchclaw Talisman, there is a 1-card combo that I created a while back where you can assemble the whole combo with just Witchclaw Talisman and 1 non-creature spell in hand, which is really simple to have in cEDH. Really awesome. Please check out this video example right here. But I want to get into 2-card combos. You know what I'm saying? Straight to the point. Notably, Entomb plus Underworld Breach does the same thing Demonic Tutor does for a similar amount of mana, but you need a little bit more less mana, but you need more cards available in your hand and graveyard. So how it works is you're going to cast your Underworld Breach, you're going to cast your Entomb to go get LED. You're going to cast LED from the graveyard by doing the escape cost, and you're going to recast Entomb again from your graveyard using the black mana that you just cracked from LED, okay? This time you're going to go get Brain Freeze with the Entomb from the recasting, follow that up. By this time you can actually include the Entomb into the escape cost from Brain Freeze, and then at this point you've assembled with just Underworld Breach and Entomb your LED and your Brain Freeze to do the Underworld Breach plus LED plus Brain Freeze combo. So really easy 2-card combo. It only takes 4 mana, but be cognizant that you need those 8 cards across the cards in your hand and in your graveyard. So 8 cards is not a lot, but if you're trying to pull this off on turn 1 to 3, it may not be possible unless you're like a Rock Side type of like wheel deck. And right now TTC is only running Wheel of Fortune, so until I get to maybe like turn 3ish to 5 is when the 8 cards in the graveyard becomes super easy to assemble, put together. And our last 2-card combo is the Entomb plus the Reanimator enchantment. We've already talked about it when it came to our with our Scion of the Earth Dragon plus Reanimator enchantment, but Entomb is just a 1 black version of our commander that says search your library for a card, put into the graveyard, and then shuffle. And then all that is just, it's really simple. Pay a black, cast Entomb, go get World Gorgeous Dragon, cast your Reanimator enchantment, and then when you'll create the loop, make the infinite mana like we talked about before. This time you actually want to make sure you can make infinite of all your colors, at least one of the white, black, and green, so then you can cast your Scion of the Earth Dragon and then follow that up with putting your infinite blue or red, or just infinite red, into your Niv Mizzet Draco Genius or Rail Scorcher Hellkite. As you can see, we're gonna keep saying those Niv Mizzet Draco Genius and Realm Scorcher Hellkite. If you love those, drop a Niv Mizzet Realm Scorcher down in the comment section, because yeah, I love it. And that's the deck. That is how the deck wins. That is how the deck does what it does. It is layered, but at the same time, if you're wondering how can I make this deck work and how can I get, notably, I do have about a 60% win rate with this deck. I think I'm at tonight will be like game 28. So we're not like at 100+ games yet, but it's been really successful. What I find to help me sustain such a high win rate is, for this deck specifically, is mulligans are huge. You want to get that card draw advantage engine down as early as possible. However, for this deck, because our command zone does have the possibility of getting something out like an Ancient Silver Dragon, or just if we get that Reanimator enchantment into our hand, the World Gorgeous Dragon, something like a turn 1 to turn 2 Smothering Tide can still be viable over the game, as we just play the game. because it just helps us get our commander at other things, but also just comes with breach. Everything is super layered. So once you get the early game job done of getting the advantage engine down, you want to just selectively use your words and your cards in hand to navigate those interactions throughout the game. So then by the time you get to turn 3, 4, or 5, you're able to drop a silent effect and then present your protected win, or wait until your opponents use all their interaction to stop a player, and then on top you can either use Valley Floodcaller or Born Upon the Wind and present your combo on top of it, which is what a lot of people are doing in the tournament scene of cEDH. With this list specifically, because we run cool cards like Necromancy, we have an increased number of ways to end the game at instant speed. I actually just won, I think it was like a week or so ago, I won an instant speed with Necromancy. So it's a traditional way to win in the current new age meta, but just keeping the in the frame of your mind, it's about patience, politicking, and just politics, and patience, and just don't rush. Somebody will always push. Somebody will get impatient. You don't have to be the first to try to win, unless it's turn 1 or 2, then fucking win the game. All right, we got Candy Sprinkle. What's up? How you doing? Thank you for the raid. Let's see. All right, so we've talked about win cons. When it comes to our next sections, we will just be hitting these more lightly because they are pretty straight to the point. We've talked about our win cons already, and if you hit notably our disable tag section, you can hit C first. Yes, I am running a dragons deck with 4 dragons, and you can troll me in the comment section. I know. I'm not a heavy synergy guy. I prefer just quality 99s where I will only need to cast my commander about 40% of my games. Outside of that, that's just how TTC plays. There are other powerful dragons that you can run. However, I will say Scion of the Erd Dragon is a magnet for removal. So unless you take the time to increase your political skills or run a lot more protection for your commander, whether it be just the creatures that give your commander hexproof or shroud, you can go that direction, but it will take slots away. And notably, the Scion of Erd Dragon already has to run a lot of, you can call them dead cards or synergy cards, to make the deck super viable. So you don't want to go too hard in the dragon route, because your deck is just going to get less and less viable in like the general cEDH meta, where sometimes those big dragons are just going to be dead cards in hand. After that, we will talk about our tutors. We have 11 tutors, 12 if you count the Scion of the Erd Dragon. Everything from our bad tutors, how you want to say, or the forbidden tutors from Demonic Consultation and Tainted Pact. We also have our top deck tutors of Imperial Seals and Vampiric Tutor. Notably, I'm seeing a lot of people not running Imperial Seal. I personally like them, but that's just me. I like it. Turn 1 Imperial Seal, y'all at me. Or main phase Imperial Seal, tap the 1 ring. I like Imperial Seal. It's good to me. Y'all can at me. I like it. Especially notably because we're on the Surveil land. So if you have the Surveil land in hand, you can cast Imperial Seal, then just play the Surveil land and put your creature into the graveyard. We've already talked about Entomb, another top deck tutor being the Light Tutor, whether it's getting our win count of Underworld Breach or just going ahead and let's go ahead and get a Esper Sentinel or a Mystic Remore or a Rhystic Study early game to get our advantage going. We also have our Ranger Captain. Notably, it's not in the deck right now, but I really want to possibly add in, if I can find it, Mockingbird. That's what it's called. I've been trying to find a slot for this card for a while now. So if you see TTC's list and have an idea of where I can slot this in, I love Mockingbird purely for the fact that you can literally leverage Ranger Captain of Eos as a way to put a blue card in your hand to turn your Force of Will or Force Negation on. I think that's some of the hottest shit ever, not to mention being able to clone an Esper for 1 mana, clone a Lothar for 2 mana. It's so good. Phyrexian Metamorph's a little better for my deck right now, but if you can find a slot, just drop it down in the comment section. We'll talk later. We've already talked about Praetor Scraps and Intuition and Demonic Tutor, all great tutors and comma lines or finishers for the list. The only tutor that I'm kind of always on the line about is like Wishclaw Talisman. 3 mana the tutor's fine, and sometimes even setting up the play by saying I'll play it for 2 and then pass can be tough, because whether it will goad your opponents to say, oh, TTC's trying to win, or your opponents have a Phyrexian Metamorph themselves, they can clone it and then, do their thing. So It's fine. I like it. It's powerful. It is just definitely a thing that sometimes it can be a little expensive to do, cast and activate in one turn. This is a 3-mana tutor. We've talked about our Ranger Captain tutor targets, Esper Sentinel, Deathrite Shaman, and Birds of Paradise. Next would be our card draw section. We've talked heavily on our card draw engines, whether it's casting our commander to get Ancient Silver Dragon online as early as turn 2 to turn 3. We also have our major draw engines in the form of creatures, being Archivist of Oghma, Fairy Mastermind, and Esper Sentinel. These are very powerful creatures that if you can get them down on turn 1, preferably in seat 1 or turn seat 2, but even sometimes in seat 3 and seat 4, I love these. They can be my entire game plan and I'll be fine with them. But sometimes it's just great to have them even in the mid game where like tutors get more common or people just got 2-3 draw engines on board and Fairy Mastermind's going crazy. Of course, we'll never forget Mystical Moor at Ristic Study. The One Ring is awesome. I count Undercity Sewers a little bit of card advantage because you get that card selection. And we also have some like temporary like Veil of Summer draw a card, Born draw a card, and of course Wheel of Fortune. If you got a turn 1, if you're seat 1 or seat 2, that is your game plan. Straight up, cast that will turn 1, fuck everybody's hand up, pray to the RNG god that you get something good, but disrupting people's game plan, and I'll say 8.5 out of 10 times, you'll disrupt the plan, possibly get them into a no land hander, where even if you did get a slow hand post-will, it's phenomenal. Just cast it turn 1, and just tell me how you feel afterwards. I like to bring emphasis to both our forced draw effects and our graveyard fillers. Our first draw effects are for because we mill our opponents out, so we want to be able to mill our to kill them post milling them out. And our graveyard fillers, because we are a breach deck, I like to know that I can consistently, I like to keep track of this, like how many ways do I have to just put cards into my graveyard to make sure just passively I'm filling up. So you'll see TTC a lot. My play pattern is I'll get my fetches out the way. I'll prioritize getting them out the way early game to play around opposition agent and Aven Mind Sensor. But as the game keeps going, like I just love just knowing that, okay, like doing the math, okay, is this breach line possible on turn 3 or on turn 4? Even if I only have 2-3 cards in hand, okay, yeah, I got my fetch, got my LED, then my Mox Simon. Okay, really I got about 6 or 7 cards in my graveyard. So really phenomenal. Love these. Our next section will be lastly discard effects. This is notably for our World Gorger Dragon. You can do some shenanigans with Necromancy and LED by casting your Necromancy and then cracking your LED. If your World Gorger Dragon is in hand, because Necromancy does not become an enchantment aura until it ETBs, you can do the combo like that. With the Wheel of Fortune, it's a little different because you have to hope that you get your Reanimator enchantment, but that's actually maybe a good spot where something like our Witchclaw Talisman comes in handy. So you can cast Witchclaw Talisman, cast your will to put the World Gorger Dragon into your graveyard, then follow that up by active. If you don't draw into the Reanimator enchantment, you can pay 1, go get your Reanimator enchantment, and then bring it back. So maybe Witchclaw Talisman doesn't suck. I mean, it doesn't suck, but you know what I mean. Our next section would be our removal and our interaction package. It's very large. I'm gonna keep it a stack with you. I love removal and interaction. Everything from Offer You Can't Refuse to Ancient Grace, which we already had to talk about, to hitting artifacts, enchantments, and those non-basic lands. We see you guys great old green mages. Brain Freeze for just affecting top deck tutors. Cyclonic Rift as our singular board wipe in this list of our choice. Deathrite Shaman for some graveyard hate. Deflecting Swat, redirecting, whether it's protecting or stopping opponents. We have Flame Scroll Celebrant, notably is on the backside. It's a silence effect. We have our traditional counter magic package for cEDH. We got our pingers, more counter magic. Notably, I love seeing it as Stupor. It's good. It's MDFC. Notably, I am running it over Otawara in this list because we don't cast our commander very often. So I wanted to be able to have that land that can be pitched to our Force of Will and Force of Negation, and also still be a land, because 3 life is not a lot when you're not using your life total. More silence effects. We've already talked about a Strict Serenade and Swan Song. I didn't clarify this, but at first I took Strict Serenade out for Swan Song, like my homie Newsom recommended. However, I still love Swan Song because it's just a powerful counter spell. And even though we're seeing more creatures, being able to stop a Ristic or a Mystic, or even just help protect ourselves when we're on that counter war, is really powerful. Lastly, we are running Swords to Plowshare and Veil of Summer. Veil being that protection we need to be like not a full silence effect, but a pseudo silence effect that said I'm gonna cast this first to make every other spell in my that I cast for the rest of this turn not be counterable, whether that be removal or a win. Lastly, Swords of Palstra, because 1 white, exile it forever. It's good. Similar vein, I like to have a board player and spell protection category where I really talk about the things protect me. A lot of these cards are similar. Some notable things though that are different from our interaction package will be our Reanimator enchantments to bring back those creatures that were powerful, like an OBM that maybe somebody killed it and we want to bring it back so we can kill their OBM. Also, we have our silence effects once again, and I like to bring up Savine's Reclamation and all the other fun stuff. But it's very similar to our regular interaction package. Namely, our just pure graveyard recursion package will be just like we said, our Reanimator enchantments, Savine's Reclamation, and Underworld Breach. Win cons, combo pieces, but just generic recursion. We love it. Next will be our Stax Tax package. I want y'all to understand, I don't hate Stax pieces, y'all. I don't hate Dreaded. I don't hate none of those cards. I just find a lot of times for a while now in the cEDH meta that it's just like when you run a card for the pure intent of stopping somebody else, it's really easy to just lose when you draw them when you don't need them, or they're just one removal of spell away from just not being a problem for the table anymore. So like my Stax and Tax package is of course my taxes with my advantage engines, and then my Stax pieces being, all right, you can't do infinite activations with my Flame Scroll Celebrant out, and you can't do infinite draws with my OBM out. But notably, this is just a great finisher for me, and this is a silence effect. So I'm not running these for their Stax effect. I'm running them because they do something for me to get me closer to winning the game. Okay, so I don't hate Dread. I think it's the best Stax piece in the game, but you're not gonna see TCC run it very often. That's just me. Our next category will be our Graveyard Hate. We already talked about this within our interaction removal package, but Deathrite Shaman, I've talked about this before where I don't play a lot of green, so I just forget how much this can affect my opponents who want to do certain graveyard strategies, and my Deathrite's out and they're like, oh shit, we gotta get rid of the Deathrite. I'm like, it's just a mana dork. I don't give a fuck about your graveyard. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I am stopping you from comboing off fully, whether it's with an Agathos and a Walking Ballista and a Francisco or whatever it may not be. So really cool, powerful combo. Next, we do have our ramp package, very important package. Straight up, the main reason I run Offer You Can't Refuse, even though those 2 treasures are really huge that you don't want to give it to a player, I notably run Offer You Can't Refuse because taking the play of land 0 mana rock that has like a Chrome Mox or a Mox Diamond or a Mox Opal, I can go land, pop it, and then just with my own offer, and that's 2 treasures. So whether it's getting that 2 treasures in a land into a turn to 1 ring or Smothering Tithe, or just setting up for a turn to Rhystic Study, or I want to get down to turn to 1 Fairy Mastermind or Archivist of Oghma, it's a really powerful because it's never really a dead card. I will say though, notably, you have to be smart when you play an Offer You Can't Refuse. This is not the counter spell that you just use willy-nilly against Kennen, because you're giving them 4 mana for 1 blue mana. And if you just, I'm gonna counter their Talisman, why? Hit their Basalt, that's fine. Go bananas. Don't just be very cognizant that the 2 treasures are a factor, and this is something that I like to hit silences with. I like to hit win cons with. I like to hit something where me giving them 2 mana is like, I don't mind that they have it. Okay, I don't want to give it the 1 ring is about to come down on Derevi's board, or Smothering Tithe is about to come down on Marnius's board. These are those cards where they're not winning, or they are winning, but you're gonna get so far ahead with that 1 card. Take the 2 treasures. I don't give a fuck. The rest of our ramp package, we've talked about Channel of the Sun's Dark Ritual. These are just our soul lands and our other miscellaneous mana dorks and mana rocks and other things along that line. We are on both spirit guides in this list, and I love them so much, whether it be Elvish Spirit Guide to help push out the Channel of the Suns, or Simian Spirit Guide just to help to push out those 2 mana rocks on turn 1. The rest is just pretty simple. Notably, I'm noticing some decks, I'm actually really noticing this, some decks are choosing not to run Smothering Tithe. I think that's a mistake. Please, you all, take another look at this card and just see what you can experience with it. Not only is it a combo piece with Underworld Breach like we talked about earlier, it is also just a powerful piece that if your commander is able to leverage mana, or you're just 99 is able to, it just gives you mana on mana on mana on mana. And sometimes you'll have no cards in hand and it'll just feel like I have 20 treasures and nothing to do with them. But in this deck specifically, having a shit ton of treasures means that, okay, all I need is one of my Reanimator enchantments to win. And oh shit, if my commander's out at instant speed, I can turn my commander into Niv Mizzet Draco Genius and start pinging things, pinging people in their face, drawing one card at a time until I get the cards I need in order to win at instant speed, whether it be with Necromancy, Valley Floodcaller plus a Reanimator enchantment, or Born Upon the Wind with a Reanimator enchantment. This is really great, and not just for this list, but for every list. It's a super powerful card. Please think about it, y'all. I'm noticing lists are not running this, and I don't know why. I get it's 4 mana. Think about it again. It's really good. Last but not least is our land base. We've talked about everything. Only the notable things to touch on is the Boseiju. I know a lot of people may not be a huge fan of Exotic Orchard, but notably, like I said, for our World Gorger Dragon combo, please be cognizant that you need Wooburg lands are really easy to just make it possible. You can do it by having multiple of these dual lands out, and that's true duels, and it's cool, but it's just always easy to know, oh, my command tower's on board. I don't have to worry about it. It's super simple. We also have our Boseiju, removal, soul lands, really good. I'm not running Theater Traders because our commander is Wooburg, so it's we don't need a lot of colors mana, but it's still helpful. Gemstones, I like this. Sometimes I hate seeing it late game, but notably that's where the cool thing about Channel of the Suns comes out, because you can use Channel of the Suns to convert a colorless mana from gemstones from like a turn 3 or 4 into like a win. We are choosing to run all of our fetches and all of our true dual fetch targets outside of Taiga, because we are notably, like I brought up earlier, we are running Undercity Sewer, and like I brought up earlier, into the Flood Maw. I mean, we're running Sink into Stupor over Otawara. So all the cool, fun, amazing things with this, but it's pretty traditional. Our last categories will be our extra turn effects for Final Fortune. I love this, even though I'm not running the Spellseeker combo. I'm not gonna lie, I have the win con in hand, but I just need a better window. Pass the turn, blow you all's interaction, and then I'm gonna pop a Final Fortune. The same thing with our instant speed enablers. Oh, I love what you're doing. Pass the turn. I'm gonna try to win it at a later time, or on top of you. We do have flicker effects with World Gorger Dragon. We never just hard cast this, but I like to take note that World Gorger Dragon is a flicker effect. So if there's ever a time where I want to be able to flicker something, or I have things that get a boost from being flickered, whether it be an OBM or one of our clones, it's just powerful effect. And we are running notably 5 silence effects. Veil, I kind of see like as a baby silence effect, but yeah. I like to run 4 to 5 silence effects in all of my decks. So if you wonder how TTC always has a silence effect before he goes for a win, this is why. Our last categories are, first of all, our untagged creature and instance for our recent includes, as well as our 1 clone effect being Phyrexian Metamorph. Like I said, if y'all can find somewhere for me to slide in that Mockingbird, let me know, because I really want to slide that one in as well. Our last category, though, I want to thank you all so much for being amazing odds. Our last category is, though, our sideboard. These are cards that we've already talked about switching out, but also cards that I'm just thinking about including. We do have, I'm thinking about including Abrupt Decay, but we're 5 color. We have a lot of options. Culling Ritual is another one that I'm thinking about. I am thinking about possibly putting in Hoarding Broodlord into the list. And so if Hoarding Broodlord comes into the list, Culling Ritual will be definitely coming into the list to support that, to cast it from hand, even though it does have the Convocability. Notably, thinking a little bit about Mystical Tutor and Mull to make sure it has possible additional tutors, but the double blue in the 5 color list is a little tough. And Mystical Tutor, we have a lot more instants and sorceries that are viable, but early game, it's still not my favorite tutor to see in hand. And I will say, notably, if Praetor's Grasp doesn't end up working out, Mystical Tutor will be the next tutor I'll be trying out. And if this one doesn't work out, Muddle will definitely be coming in. We got G Stein saying Broodlord lines are gas. I know, I agree. Expect, like, the toughest thing about the reason it wasn't an auto include from my list is because it's an ETB, and because our commander becomes the copy and doesn't reanimate it, he puts into the graveyard and becomes a copy. We don't get the ETB, so we'd have to have the 2 mana to put into the graveyard, the 2 mana to reanimate it from the graveyard, unless we actually started running reanimate to start the Saw in Half line, whether it would be going into the Peer into the Abyss or using the Saw in Half to be a double tutor for like Thassa's Tainted Pack or Thassa's Demonic Consultation or Breach LED or however else or Breach Entomb or Breach plus Demonic Tutor. A lot of possibilities, but a lot of possibilities. And in addition, I just like to just think as of right now, it's something I'm deeply thinking on, but I'm willing to be patient until I find a need, not just a want of like, oh, I feel like I have to run it because everyone else is running it. No, like, let me find a need. As of right now, it's not been a huge need, but the additional tutor will be sexy. I'm not gonna lie. And so once again, if for example, if Praetor's Grasp doesn't work out, I'd be open to adding Quarter Brute Lord in and Saw in Half and finding like just those 2 cards to switch out to make this card possible. Yeah. Notably, it says and works with Grasp. I agree. Yeah, and our last cards on our sideboard is thinking a little bit about Windfall. I didn't bring this one up, but notably, Untimely Malfunction. Before, when I initially took out Noble Hierarch out for Deflecting Swat, the transition card that I ended up adding in was Untimely Malfunction. If you're not familiar with this card, it costs a colorless and a red, and it's an instant speaks card that says choose one. You either can destroy target artifact, change the target of spell or ability with a single target, or 1 or 2 target creatures can't block this turn. That last ability, really great with our Ancient Silver Dragon. First ability, really great against stacks of pieces, but we really wanted that second ability to be able to say, all right, how can we protect our World Gorger Dragon, or how can we protect our Breach even behind silence effects? What I found though is even though Deflecting Swat is more expensive, it just felt a lot better. I can explain it. Like it felt a lot better because even though I don't cast my commander very often, knowing that casting my commander is not a dead move, and I don't get penalized as much for casting my commander now that I'm running Deflecting Swat. In addition, because I am such a patient player, holding up 3 mana for me is not any different from holding up 2 mana. Yes, it may be tougher, but for me, like when you think as deeply as I do about certain lines, it's not the end of the world to say, like it's okay. And lastly, I just really, as a red mage, I used to play Mono Red Reunion. I have like probably a slight attachment to Deflecting Swat. So I think this is really cool still. I may put it back in the future, but I think Deflecting Swat just gets the job done. And so, yeah. Our last thing though, hey, you all, we made it through all the cards. And so because we did, I have one thing to say to y'all before we get to these playtest hands. If you're looking for more ways to support the show, we have a plethora. Starting off with our TC community. If you have not already joined, please do. We have amazing people that talk about brewing, jam games, have the awesome time talking about spoilers as Wizards of the Coast continues to drop more and more sets. So being able to have that community say, hey, is this cEDH viable, or is this something we need to let go? Don't worry about it. You got the spot to get it. We also have our Thunder Legion. This is our Patreon community where they get extra perks like playing on our live streams, shouts on our streams and YouTube videos, and free proxies and discount codes. I want to give a huge shout out to our Mono Red patrons, Wavy Ashira, Bissy Baxon, the Preator, B-Rad, and Sir Trekkie. These guys rock and they keep the whites on in a way that they could not imagine. And last but not least, if you say AT, I don't want the Patrons, the proxies, the perks. I just want to say one time for the fun time. I love what you do and I want to support you. Don't worry. Check the link out in the bio. You can buy me a coffee. It keeps me up and keeps the lights on. But let's get into these playtest hands. Like, I know we've been talking about, Mulligan for a draw engine and all that other stuff. Trust me, it works. But I'm going to warn you, you got to feel comfortable going down to low modes. There have been some times where I had to go down to a 3 or a 4. You cannot settle with this deck because if we're trying to win on turn 3 to 5, or we're trying to win within that window, there's going to be some times you may need to go down to a 3 and may need to go down to 4, and trust that the 99 will support you in places where maybe the command zone doesn't, in comparison where if you are running Timna Crom or other Timna Thrashios, where those are just low, like a Mana Mole is just fine, you know what I'm saying? But this deck is a little bit different, okay? So first, let's decide what our turn. Let's see what our turn order is. I'm going to roll a D8. We got a 2, so we're going first. We're going first. We'll say second seat is Kennen, third seat is Rogsai, and fourth seat will be Tivit, Seller of Secrets. And we're going to see our first 7. Okay, I'm going to be honest. I would keep this. Why? Because it is a turn 1 Esper. Notably, you'll say to me, TTC, you have 2 dead cards in hand. This is technically a hand of 5. I hear you. We're going first, so being able to drop that City of Brass and drop the Esper is phenomenal. We also have a Demonic Consultation in hand, which means that we are able to, now we have a Witch Claw as well, we are able to set up for that position of like, okay, well, Like, you know, we basically at this point, if we can establish our Witch Claw on turn 2, if we can get 4 mana on turn 3, being 2 blue, a black, and a colors, we can win on turn 3. Maybe not the best thing to do with an Esper Sentinel on board because they can draw us out. So then my last piece I'm thinking about, okay, we need a silence effect. So what I see in my hand is a turn 3 to 5 win, depending on how much mana and what our draws are. And it's really powerful and really thing. And notably, we do have that, because we're going against Rockside, we do have that in case of emergency, crack glass, cast a demonic consultation to do our thing. And I'm okay to do that in this hand because we do have a Wargorger Dragon and our Niv Mizzet Draco Genius in hand. Because there's an Esper Sentinel, if we want to, we don't have to cast the Witchclaw Talisman. We can just discard them to hand size. So we play our land, pay Esper Sentinel, turn 2, just cast the UC, see what Rockside does on turn 2, and then depending on what our turn 1 and turn 2 draws was, we are going to discard those dragons and get other draws. So it's a first 7. I know most people say, oh, it's a hand of 5. I'm okay with it because it's 2 different lines of play, whether it be Decon to go get a Reanimator enchantment or Witchclaw to go get a Reanimator enchantment, or maybe a little bit of both. We do Decon to go to get a silence effect, or Witchclaw or to go get the Reanimator enchantment. I can work with this, and for this list specifically, I don't think you have to continue to mold down to try to get a perfect hand need better. I think this is everything that we want for this specific list. And so let's just go see a draw for turn. It's a Talisman of Progress. I like this. Notably, if we do drop this Talisman on turn 2 with our city and our UC, we won't have anything. So I would be very interested to see what our Esper Sentinel drew us, and that will tell it. And I also will be watching what the Rock Side of the pod would do to kind of give us that gauge of like, like, are we in the spot where we're fine not having any interaction right now? Can we make it through Rockside's turn 2 in the C3? And if we do feel comfortable, we'll just progress the Talisman. It does have a blue source, so we can kind of be faking that we have interaction until we actually draw the interaction. And notably, because we do have this Niv Mizzet Draco Genius, if we do draw our Force of Will or Force of Negation, they will be online for Rockside's or Kennan's turn if they have an explosive start and try to go for a win. So cool, easy start. Quick gold fishing tip. If you all are not familiar, you can roll a D8 or D4. And what I do is I roll a D4, and early game it can be lower, and late game it can be higher, but I find that 1 to 4 helps me kind of like, if I roll a 1, I draw 1 card. If I roll a 4, I draw 4 cards, because some games are different depending on skill levels, well, and all those other things. Like, I find that's a good median. So like for this hand, hypothetically, if I were to say play City of Brass into Esper, I'll roll a D8 to be my simulated D4, and it's a 5, so that's a 3. And so I would like draw, okay, 1, 2, 3 cards. So these are the cards that I drew from the Esper, so I could still progress the UC. Notably, I would think twice about wanting to progress the Talisman of Progress depending on what Rockside is doing, because notably I also can say just hold up my interaction, being Brain Freeze to fuck with their top deck tutors, or I could just hold up my interaction. If I don't do anything, I could just in-step Fairy Mastermind to put even more card draw down. And notably, because we drew so many cards, I believe it would be 1, 2, 3, and then we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We can discard our Wargorger Dragon to the graveyard, and because we have that Niv Mizzet Draco Genius and a Born Upon the Wind in our hand, what we can do is we can, this may actually be a turn 3 win depending on what our next draws are. We could do City, Esper, turn 2, UC, discard the Wargorger Dragon, and then what we will do is in-step Demonic Consultation for one of our Reanimator enchantments. Make the no, I lied. TTC lied. We would need 1 more mana source to be able to make the infinite red, because we have infinite blue and black, not infinite with the City of Brass. We if we do draw a red source of mana, we can on in-step of turn 2 Demonic Consultation for one of our Reanimator enchantments, and then go into a turn 3. It's unprotected, but we can just make the infinite mana, then Born Upon the Wind, the Niv Mizzet Draco Genius onto the board, and then kill. But I like these because even though I have the turn 3 win, I'm starting turn 3. I changed my mindset from, I need to find a way to win this game, to no, I need to find the perfect window to win the game. And that's why I see a lot of succession. But let's see playtest hand number 2. We are going to see a first 7. Roll a D8. we're going, it's a 1, I mean, it's a 2, so we're going first. Don't love seeing these Gemstone Caverns here, but we'll get to that in a sec. We're going first again. This time, we're going to say that we have a Marnius Calcar going second, a Timna Thrasios going third, and going fourth will be a Rakdos the Muscle. Let's say that, okay? This first 7, I'm not in love with it. I wish we weren't going first. Notably, I would see, this is tough. We have the 3 artifacts in hand for a turn 2 Archivist, and this is okay. We're gonna mulligan this. We're gonna mulligan this, y'all. But this is kind of where it gets a little tough. We can drop the Wooded Foothills, the Mox Opal, and the LED. Pass turn, fetch on instep for whatever colors we need, and then cast a Talisman on turn 2 to hold up either the Archivist or the Cyclonic Rift. If the Rakdos of Muscle seems like they're doing a lock, we can push the Cyclonic Rift. But if it looks like our Timna Thrasios or Marnius deck, like kind of more control variants, I can confidently just catch somebody's fetch or their tutor and just start doing it. Notably, I did say for mulligans that you want to, if you're going to lean on Archivist, you want to get it down turn 1 to start aggressively drawing cards. So because of that rule, we can't get this down turn 1 because we're going first. I'm going to mulligan this. I do think if you were just trying to play safe and didn't want to go any deeper, this is a fine hand, but experiment time. Greedy keeps. Let's keep it going. We're going to see a second 7. This one is Chrome Mox, 3 lands, a Swan Song, a Wheel of Fortune, and a Veil of Summer. See, this is no bueno. We can't get the Wheel of Fortune out turn 1, even though we're going first seat. This whole hand is built around protecting a Swan, like either Swan Song or Veil of Summer. We have the Surveil land. No, I'm going to throw this away. It's not terrible. It's just like the game plan is a turn 2 wheel, but I don't want to will people after they progress their first turn. So let's go check out a 6. This is the tough thing now. We don't have a land, okay? We even have the offer and Mox Diamond, all these other things. We don't have a land. Mox Diamond, unfortunately, not being that land source we need. So we have to keep going, but I do like seeing this Esper. Let's go check out a 5. This one, ooh, okay. This is interesting because we need to do some math real quick. The 5 I know that I would be interested in keeping would be the Undercity Sewers, the Soul Ring, the Bayou, the Animate Dead. That's 4. Possibly the 5th one being Wishclaw Talisman because it can help me get an Entomb. What I'm thinking, the Undercity Sewers is our outlet for World Gorger Dragon, which would go onto the library along with Valley Floodcaller. We could Soul Ring turn 1, turn 2 Wishclaw Talisman, play the Undercity Sewer. We would have a colors floating. I don't feel good giving people Wishclaw Talismans. I'm just going to keep it a stack with you. It would be an untap, turn 3, activate. No, yeah, that would still work. We wouldn't have to push the Wishclaw Talisman out. We can go turn 3. It will be turn 3. Use the colors from Soul Ring, activate Wishclaw Talisman, go get an Entomb, put the Entomb, the World Gorger Dragon to the graveyard, and then use the Animate Dead Bayou colors. That's a turn 3 win. So I actually would keep this, bottoming the Valley Floodcaller and the World Gorger Dragon, and I will show you all very quickly how this would look. We will bottom this card, draw for turn. This is a Sink of Stupor. A Sink into Stupor. I don't love seeing this when we're trying to do World Gorger, because each time this enters in, if you look at the back of the card, this one, every time it enters, you'll have to pay 3 life. So you can't use this for part of the loops, but it's not the end of the world. We have the Undercity Sewer. So I would still do the same thing, Bayou into Soul Ring, and then pass for me. And a Decon's interesting. I would, this is an interesting situation. Decon doesn't really change what I want to do, but I would still do the same thing, progress the Talisman we're going for. So we'll just progress the Talisman. Oh, scary. I'm like, I'm not activating it, then pass and turn. Then we'll play our Surveil land, look at the top card. It's a Retraction Helix. We don't have a creature that we plan on casting, and when our World Gorger comes in, it will have Summoning Sickness because it's infinitely flickering, so we can never activate the tap ability. So I would throw that into the graveyard, say like, oh, yippee. And what I would do now is I would know starting turn 3, when I draw this Mystic Remora, I have 2 lines of play. I can either push a win right now, just say, fuck you all, I'm pushing this win. I don't care what you all think. I'm pushing this win right here, right now. Or I just progress this turn 3 fish, lose 3 life, and just call this a day and be like, I don't like, this is more how TTC plays. I would just wait it out. I have no reason to push. Like, I have win in hand. Nobody knows it. But right now I'm like, if I got a Marneus and a Thrasios Tymna on board, that's the control aspect. But because I have a Rakdos the Muscle on board, they may have spot removal as well. So it's not really, I don't have to force this. And depending on if my players are fully tapped out or if Rakdos the Muscle tried some really crazy things and people really tried to push, I have no reason to try to force a win here. I can just sit back and say, oh, I'm cool. But let's say hypothetically, that's one option. But let's say hypothetically TTC did push, push a win right here. All I would do is I would do the Into the Flood. I would do the Sink into the Stupor. What I will do, I already lost the 3 life. I would just tap this, crack, give it to, I would never give this to Rakdos the Muzzle. I'd probably give it to Tymna Thras because Marneus is Smothering Tithe. Rakdos the Muzzle is like combo central if they just storm off. And so I would go get an Entomb. Go get that Entomb. I would tap this to cast the Entomb to go put a World Gorger Dragon into the graveyard. And then I would just go use this last colorless from the Soul Ring and this black to cast my Animate Dead, targeting a World Gorger Dragon. And then I have 2 options here. Notably, I have 2 options. I could push all these 3 out, but I could also I could have developed the fish before I did that. The reason I didn't develop the fish is because that will put us at a 3 spell. That will put us under Mind Break Trap. So it's like, my thought is like, why don't I just save the fish? So say if my Animate Dead gets popped, like someone counters it, oh, that's fine. Well, my backup plan is just go and cast this fish. And also maybe they're scared of my interaction. They think they can stop me some other way. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. I have the option to always develop the fish afterwards in case they do that. But with this, I would just make infinite black and green mana and have infinite surveils and just mill my entire library. Put all of this into the graveyard, move all to the graveyard. And then I would end the loop. Instead of targeting World Gorger Dragon, I would end the loop on Thassa's Oracle. Ooh. Move all to graveyard, and then let's view all Thassa's. And there we go. That's a clean turn 3 win. And I have to say, notably, TTC never touched this command. So yeah, like that's straight up it. TTC never touched his command zone. That is what you will see a lot of times, and that doesn't mean that the command zone sucks or like, oh, like why are you even running Scion if you're not going to run the command, if you're not going to cast it? It's okay because it's an option. Having options is not a bad thing. Notably, we do have Detrove says, wait, you on Helix Floodcaller now? Yes, we are running Retraction Helix Floodcaller. To bring things back real quick, I was flirting around. I took Spellseeker out. Because since losing Dockside, I found times where I could go for the Spellseeker combo, but I wouldn't, because y'all know how I play. My play style, I like to win behind silence effects or to have like a grip full of counter spells where I can do everything at instant speed. What I found though with Spellseeker lines is it's tougher to do Spellseeker lines with protection because we don't have the explosivity of mana that Dockside or Mana Crypt or other things provided to us. So I didn't think, not that the combo was bad, but I thought there was better options. So I ended up taking Spellseeker out and I did the Dragon Shuffle where I was playing around with Chromium Mutable as a discard outlet to support, what is it called? To support the World Gorger Dragon combo. I also tried out the Dragonborn Looter, but what we ended up selling on is just the Valley Floodcaller because it supports our win cons with the Reanimator enchantments if we want to win at instant speed. Not to mention, it just makes infinite mana. So my thought was, instead of just purely going into the energy of like, oh, how do I fully support the World Gorger Dragon line, I can use my discard stuff as a way to discard the World Gorger Dragon, A, and then B, say if I don't have a way to discard my World Gorger Dragon, I can just use Valley Floodcaller and Retraction Helix to make infinite mana and then put that into my commander. So just multiple options, nice fun stuff. It's cool. Magic is fun. But those were our 2 playtest hands. As you can see, like I said, 2 back-to-back, really cool explosive hands. We even saw in hand 2 that we correctly decided, say, hey, like we could keep this hand, we can progress the board, which is a turn 2 Archivist, but because and notably, if we were turn 2, 3, 4, snap keep. I'm telling you, just keep it. I don't remember what the cards were, so I can't tell you where to pitch, but yeah, just keep it. It's super simple. It would have been a slap. Just get that Archivist down turn 1 and start drawing off people's fetches, drawing off people's early tutors. But our choice to go down deeper opened the line up to that turn 3 win, where we didn't have to touch our command zone, and we even had the option to pivot to that Mystic Remora in case our enemy dead got stopped. So honestly, I love it. Beautiful, fun stuff. I just want to say one more thing to you all. If you're looking for more ways to support the show, we have a plethora. Starting off with our ThunderConductor community. We brew, we jam games, we talk spoilers, we just talk about life, and we have a blast. But if you want extra perks like playing on our live streams, shouts on our streams and YouTube videos, and free proxies and discount codes, I want you all to check out our Thunder Legion Patreon community. Huge shout out to our Mono Red patrons, Wavy Ashira, Bissy Baxon, The Preator, B-Rad, and Sir Trekkie. These guys rock, and they keep the lights on the way they could not imagine. But if you say, AT, I don't want the Patreon, the proxies, the perks. I just want to say one time that I love what you do and I want to support you. Don't worry. Check the link down in the bio. You can buy me a coffee. It keeps me up and keeps the lights on and allows us to do this amazing show. But with that said, I will see you all soon in this Sign of the Ur Dragon updated gameplay. I'll see y'all soon. Peace.